The chamber was silent, except for the sound of heavy chains. In the center, a giant alien beast lay on the cold floor. Its glowing eyes burned like fire. Yet there was something broken inside them. The aliens stood far back, whispering in fear. They said the creature was too dangerous, too wild, and that it must be sacrificed before it destroyed them all. No one dared to step closer. No one except the human. He looked at the beast and felt something the others did not. He did not see a monster. He saw hunger, pain, and loneliness. While the council shouted for the beast's death, the human took one slow step forward. The beast growled. The chains rattled, and everyone gasped. What was he doing? Why was he moving closer when even the bravest alien stayed far away? The chamber was quiet, so quiet that even the sound of the chains felt heavy in the air. In the center of the dark hall, the alien beast lay bound. Thick iron-like links wrapped around its arms and legs, glowing faintly under the strange lights. Above, its eyes glowed brighter than any fire, filled with both rage and sadness. The aliens surrounding it stood at a safe distance, whispering in nervous tones. They did not dare to come closer. They all said the same thing. The beast was cursed. It was dangerous. It could never be trusted. Soon, it had to be sacrificed, for if it lived, it would bring disaster to them all. Fear lived in every alien eye as they looked at the creature. None saw anything but a monster, but the humans saw differently. He stood near the entrance, quietly, studying the beast while others backed away. His heart did not beat with fear, but with curiosity. He had been told stories since the moment he arrived. The beast destroyed villages. The beast could kill with a single strike. The beast had no mercy. Yet the creature lying before him was chained, weak, and trembling. Its breaths came heavy, like a tired old warrior. He wondered if the stories were true, or if the truth was something else hidden behind those glowing eyes. The council of elders spoke in their deep voices. They announced that the sacrifice would happen soon. The beast would be dragged to the high grounds, and its life would be ended for the safety of all. The aliens cheered softly, but the human noticed something when the elders spoke of its death. The beast did not roar or resist. Instead, a low sound escaped its throat. It was not a growl of anger. It was almost like a cry of sorrow. The human stepped forward. His boots echoed across the chamber floor, and every alien turned to him in shock. "Do not go closer," one shouted. Another hissed, "It will tear you apart." Yet he did not stop. His eyes stayed locked on the beast, who raised its head to look back at him. For a moment, the two held each other's gaze. Time itself felt frozen. The human saw not hatred, but pain. The beast saw not fear, but something new, something gentle. Gasps filled the room when the human took another step closer. The beast shifted, the chains rattled loudly, and the alien screamed for him to move back. But he did not move back. He stopped only a few feet away, watching as the beast lowered its head slightly. As if unsure of what to do, the silence grew heavier. The human's mind filled with questions. If this creature was truly as wild as they said, why had it not tried to break free? Why did it not attack now, when he stood so close? He saw hunger in its eyes, yes, but also loneliness. The kind of loneliness only a prisoner could understand. The aliens whispered again. Some believed the human was mad. Others thought he would be killed in the next breath. But then something unexpected happened. The beast did not roar. Instead, its glowing eyes softened. Just for a moment, its chest rose and fell in a calmer rhythm, as if the human's presence alone had soothed its restless spirit. The human felt his breath catch. He knew then that something was different, something the council did not see. This was no mindless monster. It was something more, something hidden beneath fear and chains. Still, he could not move further. He knew the council watched every action, ready to drag him away if he made one wrong step. But he had seen enough to know the truth. He turned, his head slightly, looking at the council, then back at the beast. His voice was low, but firm. "This creature is not what you think it is." The chamber fell silent. No one expected him to speak. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, and one finally growled, "Do not be fooled by its silence. It has destroyed before. It will destroy again." The human did not answer. His eyes stayed locked on the beast, who continued to stare back at him with glowing eyes that no longer burned with rage, but with something almost fragile. He could not explain why, but he felt as if it was asking him for something, perhaps hope, perhaps trust. The moment stretched longer, heavier, until finally the council ordered the guards to pull the human back. The chains of the beast rattled again as it watched him being moved away. A deep sound came from its throat, neither cry nor growl, but something in between. The human felt it deep inside his chest. It was not the sound of a monster. It was the sound of a being trapped in pain, waiting for someone to see the truth. That night, as the council prepared for the coming sacrifice, the human could not sleep. The sound of that cry echoed in his mind. The image of glowing eyes that carried sorrow haunted him. He knew what the others could not imagine. The beast was not just dangerous, it was misunderstood. And he also knew something else. When the time came, he could not let it be sacrificed. He would do the unthinkable. The news spread quickly through the alien city. In every corner of the streets and markets, whispers rose about the chained beast. Some said it was restless, that the council would finally sacrifice it within the next cycle. Others said they had seen something strange, how the creature had gone calm when the human walked near. None of them could explain it, and that mystery made the fear grow even stronger. The council gathered again in their tall chamber, their robes trailing across the polished floor. They spoke in low voices, but the human could hear enough to understand. The elders wanted the sacrifice to happen soon. They believed waiting any longer was dangerous, even foolish. One elder insisted the beast carried a curse, that if it was not destroyed, darkness would spread across their world. Another repeated old stories about villages lost, skies darkened, and children taken. Each tale was older than memory, yet told as if it happened yesterday. The human listened carefully. He noticed how none of the stories had clear details. They were always told by someone who had heard from another, who had heard from another. No one had stood before the beast themselves. They all spoke of fear, but not of truth. That night, when the city fell into silence, the human walked back toward the chamber where the beast was kept. Guards stood at the doors, but he found a way to slip inside unnoticed. The hall was dim, the air heavy with the sound of chains moving slightly as the beast shifted. Its glowing eyes opened slowly, catching the faint light. The human took a cautious step closer, his heart beating fast. He carried something in his hand, a piece of food, taken quietly from the mess hall. He held it out, unsure if the beast would respond. The creature lifted its head, the chains pulling tight against its body. A low sound came from its throat, but it was not loud, not angry. It was almost curious. He knelt slowly, placing the food just within reach. The beast sniffed the air, its nose twitching. For a long moment, it did not move. Then, with surprising gentleness, it reached forward, its mouth brushing the ground as it picked up the food. The human waited, frozen, ready to step back if needed. But the beast only chewed carefully, its eyes never leaving his. For the first time, the human saw something new in those glowing eyes. Not fear, not rage, but a quiet thankfulness. The next day, the whispers in the city grew louder. The guards told the council what they had seen. The human had dared to approach the beast, and the beast had not harmed him. Some said it was only luck. Others believed it was a sign of danger, that the creature was waiting for the right moment to strike. But a few, only a few, wondered if the human had discovered something no one else could. The council dismissed those thoughts quickly. The beast is clever, one elder warned. It hides its true nature. Do not be fooled. Yet deep down, even they could not explain why the creature remained calm near the human. That evening, the human returned again, this time with nothing in his hands. He moved slowly, his eyes watching every twitch of the creature's muscles. He whispered softly, words that no alien around him would have dared to say. "You are not what they think you are you?" The beast tilted its head, chains clinking softly, its eyes narrowed, but not in anger. The human felt a strange connection, as if his words reached the creature in some way. He stretched out his hand, hesitating only a moment. Then, carefully, he touched the beast's side. The guards at the far end gasped. One nearly shouted, but stopped when the beast did nothing. It did not strike. It did not roar. Instead, its massive body trembled, almost like a child who had been touched with kindness after too long in the dark. The human kept his hand there, steady and calm. He felt the roughness of its skin, the warmth beneath it. The beast closed its eyes for a moment, letting out a breath that sounded almost like relief. That night, the council called for another meeting. The story had spread faster than fire. The people demanded answers. Why had the human not been attacked? Why did the beast grow calm in his presence? Some were afraid, believing this meant the beast was planning something even more dangerous. Others began to question if the council's stories were true at all. The elders were uneasy. They could not control the whispers anymore. They declared that the sacrifice must happen without delay. The beast would be taken to the high grounds within 3 nights. The human heard these words and felt his chest tighten. He looked toward the chamber where the beast rested in chains, its glowing eyes watching the stars through the cracks above. He knew now, more than ever, that the creature was not what they believed. He had touched it, fed it, stood beside it, and in all those moments, it had shown not hatred, but trust. As the council prepared their ritual, the human stood alone, caught between 2 choices: to stay silent and watch the beast be lost forever, or to do the unthinkable and protect the creature everyone else feared. The answer grew stronger in his heart with every passing hour. The night was quiet, and the sky outside the city glowed faintly with distant stars. Inside the chamber, the beast shifted restlessly, the chains clinking in slow rhythm. The human walked through the empty hallways, his steps careful, his thoughts heavy. He had heard the council's words again and again. In only 2 nights, the beast would be led to the high grounds where the sacrifice would take place. Every part of him knew that if he stayed silent, the creature would be lost forever. He slipped past the guards, who had grown used to seeing him wander the corridors. They no longer stopped him, though some whispered behind his back. They thought he was curious, perhaps reckless, but harmless. None of them guessed the truth, that he was carrying food hidden beneath his cloak, food he had taken from his own share. When he entered the chamber, the beast lifted its head, its glowing eyes sharp and steady. For a moment, the human wondered if it had been waiting for him. He knelt on the stone floor and placed the food just within reach of the chains. The creature leaned forward, sniffed carefully, and then ate with slow, deliberate movements. Its eyes never left his face, as though it wanted to be certain of his intent. The human spoke softly, his voice low, almost like a secret. They say you are dangerous. They say you are cursed. But I don't see that. I see someone who is trapped. The beast blinked, tilting its head. It made a soft rumbling sound, not sharp or loud, but deep and steady. The human could not explain why, but he felt that the sound was not a warning. It was an answer. He reached out his hand, his heart racing. Last time, he had only brushed the creature's side for a brief moment, but now he dared to keep his palm there longer. The beast's body tensed first, then slowly relaxed under his touch. Its breathing steadied, the trembling fading away. The human felt warmth beneath his fingers, not the coldness of a monster, but the life of a living being that longed for connection. The sound of footsteps echoed faintly from the hall outside, and he quickly pulled his hand back. 2 guards passed the doorway, glancing in. They frowned but said nothing, shaking their heads as they moved on. The human waited until their footsteps faded before turning back to the beast. He whispered, "They don't understand you, but I do. You are not what they think." The beast shifted slightly, lowering its head closer to the ground. Its glowing eyes softened, the fire inside them dimming into something calmer, almost gentle. The human dared to smile, though it was small and uncertain. In that moment, he realized something important. The beast was not only responding to his food, it was responding to his kindness. Over the next day, he returned again. This time, he brought water in a small vessel. He placed it carefully near the beast's mouth. The creature drank slowly, each movement careful, as if it understood that this gift was not given in fear, but in care. The human sat quietly, watching, letting the silence stretch between them. For the first time, the silence did not feel heavy. It felt like trust growing in the shadows. But the whispers in the city grew louder. People said the human had lost his mind. Some claimed the beast was tricking him, waiting for the right moment to strike. Others whispered something different, that perhaps the beast was not what the council claimed. The rumors spread like waves, reaching even the younger ones, who began asking dangerous questions. The council grew restless. The human is clouding the people's thoughts. One elder said sharply, "If he continues, doubt will spread. We cannot allow it. The sacrifice must not be delayed." But despite their warnings, the human kept returning. He sat with the beast longer each night, speaking words that no one else would dare to say. Sometimes he spoke of his home far away, of skies filled with blue instead of shadows. Sometimes he spoke of loneliness, how he knew the weight of being an outsider, surrounded by those who did not trust him. And every time the beast listened, it never turned away. One evening, when he placed his hand on its side again, the beast moved slightly closer. The chains tightened, but its body pressed gently toward him, almost as though it sought comfort. The human froze, his breath catching. Slowly, carefully, he raised his other hand and touched the side of its face. Its skin was rough, but warm. The beast closed its eyes, letting out a deep sigh, the kind of sound a tired soul makes when it finally feels safe. At that very moment, an elder passed the doorway and saw everything. His eyes widened in disbelief, and his voice rang out sharply, calling the guards. The human pulled his hands away quickly, stepping back as the beast shifted uneasily. The guards rushed in, demanding to know what he was doing. The elder's voice was filled with warning. "You play with fire, human. This creature is not your friend. Do not let it fool you." But the human met his eyes calmly and said only one thing, "If it were a monster, I would not be standing here now." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. The guards did not drag him away, but the elder's frown grew darker. As they left, the beast watched the human closely, its eyes glowing softer than ever before. That night, as the council argued louder than ever, the human sat in the shadows, his thoughts clear. He had crossed a line that could not be undone. The bond he had with the beast was no longer a secret. The city was divided. The council was angry. And he knew, when the final day came, he would have to make a choice far greater than he had imagined. The council chamber was restless. The elders spoke in sharp tones, their voices rising like storm winds. Every corner of the city had heard the rumor the human had touched the beast, and the beast had not resisted. To the people, it was a strange wonder. To the council, it was a dangerous challenge. If the human could stand beside the creature without harm, then perhaps the old stories were not as true as they had always claimed. Doubt had entered the city, and doubt was something the council feared more than anything. The elders decided the sacrifice would happen sooner. Preparations began in secret. Though whispers still spread across the streets, the people were curious, unsettled. Some said the human should be silenced before he weakened their unity. Others quietly believed the beast deserved a chance. No one dared to say such things aloud, but the feeling grew like roots beneath the surface. The human noticed the changes as he walked through the city. Eyes followed him more closely now. Some were filled with suspicion, others with quiet questions. He kept his silence, but inside his mind a storm was growing. He had not only touched the beast, he had felt its trembling, its longing, its deep loneliness. That memory clung to him like a shadow he could not shake. When he returned to the chamber that evening, the beast lifted its head quickly, as though it had been waiting. The chains rattled softly, but the creature did not strain against them. Its glowing eyes followed his every step, calmer than before. He sat down on the stone floor, closer than he had ever dared to sit, and simply stayed there in silence. Minutes passed, heavy and slow. The beast lowered its head slightly, its breath warm as it drifted across the ground. The human leaned forward and whispered, "They are preparing for you. They think they know what you are, but they do not." His words were low, but the creature's ears twitched, as if it understood. He continued speaking, not in commands, not in fear, but as one would speak to a friend. He told the beast of distant skies and forests, of a home far beyond the stars, of mornings where light broke through leaves instead of stone ceilings. As his voice carried softly across the chamber, the beast relaxed. The tension in its body faded. Its eyes half closed, not in weariness, but in something that looked very close to trust. On the second evening, the human dared to bring a brush he had found in the city's markets. It was simple, used for cleaning, but in his hands it became something else. Slowly, carefully, he ran it across the beast's rough skin. The creature flinched at first, uncertain, but then stilled. Its breathing deepened, slow and steady, and, for the first time, the human saw its glowing eyes soften fully. A sound came from its chest, low and steady, almost like a gentle hum. He smiled faintly, realizing something important. The beast was not only calm around him, it was responding, learning, perhaps even remembering what kindness felt like. He had broken a barrier no alien had dared to approach. This was no monster, no curse. This was a being capable of bond and memory. But while the connection grew stronger, so did the danger. On the third night, he found the chamber more heavily guarded. The council had placed more eyes near the beast, and whispers of his actions had spread too far. Still, he entered, pretending his visits were harmless curiosity. In truth, each step was a promise to himself that he would not let the beast face the end alone. The creature sensed his unease. Its eyes watched him with quiet intensity, as though it understood. That time was running short. The human sat once more, brushing his hand gently against its side. The beast pressed closer, chains tightening, but its body leaning in. Desperate for the small comfort, the sound of rattling metal echoed in the hall, and one of the guards shouted from the door, warning him to step back. But he did not. He stayed, where he was, hand resting firmly, eyes calm. The guards muttered in disbelief. Some looked uneasy, for they had never seen the creature so still, so gentle. Yet none dared to question the orders of the council. Later that night, the human stood outside the chamber, watching the stars above. He thought about the creature's eyes, the way they no longer burned with wild fire, but glowed with something softer, almost like trust. He thought about the sound it had made when he brushed its skin, the soft hum that spoke more clearly than words, and he thought about the council's plan. In only one night more, they would drag the beast away to be sacrificed. He knew then that he could not stand aside. The bond between him and the creature was real, stronger than the fear that filled the city. The choice was no longer far away. Soon, he would stand before the council, before the people, and before the beast. And when that moment came, he would not step back. The chamber behind him was silent, but in the silence, the truth was clear. The beast was no monster. It was waiting for him. The human stood at the edge of the alien camp, watching the strange gathering that had formed around the beast. No chains bound it now, yet no one dared to touch it. The air was thick with whispers, and every alien eye turned toward the human with a mix of wonder and fear. It was as if they all knew something had changed the moment he had placed his hand on the beast's shoulder, something none of them could undo. The creature itself stood calmly, no longer thrashing, no longer roaring. Its glowing eyes were steady, fixed on him with a strange loyalty. That loyalty had become the most dangerous thing in the camp. Rumors spread like fire. Some said the human had bewitched the beast. Others claimed the beast had chosen him as its master. Both thoughts frightened the leaders, who saw this bond as a threat to their control. But the ordinary people, the ones who had once trembled at the sound of the beast's growl, now looked at it with hope in their eyes. They whispered of a new beginning, one where fear no longer ruled them. The human could feel the tension pulling tighter every hour. At night, he heard the leaders speaking in hushed voices, debating what to do. The beast was not just an animal anymore, it was a symbol, and symbols could move hearts faster than weapons. The human began to realize the real danger was not in the creature's strength, but in the way it changed the people around it. He tried to speak to the beast, to understand what it wanted. To his surprise, the creature began to respond not with words, but with actions. It would nudge him toward places where hidden tunnels lay, or growl lowly when someone approached with ill intent. It was as if it wanted to protect him. But why? The question circled his thoughts, keeping him awake long after others had fallen asleep. One night, as the stars burned above, the beast lifted its head and let out a sound unlike anything before. It wasn't anger, it was a call, a deep, echoing cry that seemed to reach far beyond the camp, far into the unknown forests. The ground seemed to hum with the vibration of it, and even the human felt The hair on his arms rise. The aliens panicked, rushing to silence it, but no one dared get close. The cry went on until it faded into the night air, leaving a silence so deep it pressed against the ears. The next morning, the camp awoke unsettled. The leaders looked nervous, their eyes darting to the horizon as if expecting an answer to come. The ordinary people looked at the human, waiting for him to explain what had happened. But he had no answer. All he knew was that the beast was no longer alone. Something had heard its call. Days passed, and the unease grew heavier. Strange tracks appeared outside the camp, larger than any creature the aliens had seen before. The human noticed the beast, standing taller now, stronger, as if it drew power from something unseen. And then, one evening, the ground trembled faintly, not from the beast, but from something approaching. The human realized the truth in that moment. The beast hadn't just chosen him, it had called for others of its kind. And whatever was coming, the camp was not ready. Would the new rivals see him as friend or foe? Would they recognize the bond between human and beast? Or see only a stranger standing beside one of their own? The air grew heavier with each passing moment, and the human knew the calm would not last. Something was on its way, and when it arrived, everything would change forever. The sky above the alien city glowed with strange colors. As the human stood with the beast at his side, both of them had survived what no one thought possible, and now they were no longer seen as captor and captive. They were partners in something greater. The city's people had gathered in silence, their eyes wide, waiting to see what choice would be made. The council had promised freedom if the human gave up the beast, but in that moment, he realized that freedom meant nothing without loyalty, and loyalty meant everything when trust was rare. The beast leaned close, its eyes shimmering with quiet understanding. It had once been feared, caged, and marked as nothing more than a danger to society. Now it stood tall, scars glowing faintly like stars etched into its skin, as if the universe itself had chosen it for something more. The human's hand brushed against its side, a silent promise that neither would walk away from what they had become together. The council waited, their faces unreadable, but the crowd was restless. Whispers spread, not of fear, but of hope. They had seen what the human did, how he faced storms, betrayal, and endless trials, not for reward, but because he believed that no creature deserved to be abandoned. That belief had changed everything, and the people could no longer deny what their hearts were already feeling. The human stepped forward, his voice steady. He didn't demand, he didn't plead, he simply spoke the truth that everyone needed to hear. You called it a beast, I call it my friend. The words struck deeper than any argument, and the silence that followed was not one of resistance, but one of awakening. The beast bowed its head, not in defeat, but in respect, as if it too had been waiting for this moment all along. From that day, their story spread beyond the city, beyond the planet, even beyond the stars. Where once there had been fear, there was now unity. Where once chains had held, there was now freedom. And the bond between the human and the beast became a symbol not only of survival, but of something greater, the reminder that even in the darkest places, a single act of trust could light the path for an entire world. Yet, as the stars shifted above, the human knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of a journey far bigger than either of them had imagined. For the galaxy was listening, and soon, others would come searching for the truth of the beast and the human who dared to stand beside it.